Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have special guest Greg Sisengrath. Greg, how are you? Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
Greg Sisengrath.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, man, I'm really excited to have you on, and you've been a great member of the running community. You've done a lot of things, and so I thought hearing your story would be a lot of fun today.
Happy to share what I can. Hopefully it's interesting.
We'll see. Maybe you only get one download or something.
That's
So,
right. I'm there.
you've been running for a long time, and I've known you and about you for a while now. And I don't know that I've ever really heard your story. And you're into a lot of things, and so I want to dive in and just get to know you a little bit, Greg. Just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your story, how you got into running, why you started running, and we'll just go from there and see if the search goes.
Yeah. I don't think my running journey is that unique. I think it's going to be similar to a lot of people. I found running. I think started running in 2009. So I actually didn't enjoy running growing up. I was a team sports person, and I think with all team sports is running was always treated as a punishment. And you probably had to do maybe, yeah, you had to do cross country or track as cross training for your actual sport. So never really enjoyed running growing up. And again, found it late in life in my mid 30s after my wife Fiona had her third child, and rec league basketball with the friends starts to shrivel up. You don't have that many athletic endeavors that you can do. And I got pretty overweight. And I think one time I was playing tennis with a friend, trying to get back into shape.
Mm.
And Fiona was running laps around the tennis courts and the track next to us. I thought, look at that. That is just so crazy. And you know what? I tried it, and I remember running around the block, and it's probably a half mile in our neighborhood. And I told her, hey, I ran around the whole block and didn't even stop once. You guys, no, you're lying. And that was basically it. So I just started running, and I noticed, and I think for the same similar reasons as most, you're trying to get fit, trying to get back into shape. And I found out that I enjoyed it. And basically a friend from college saw me running, and he said, hey, we should sign up for a half marathon. I don't even know how far that is, but let's do it. And we signed up for White Rock at the time, when the course ran down Katy Trail and ended at AAC, which I thought was a great course, just the way they funneled you in. Everyone, and at the finish line, everyone was just crowded around cheering on other people running. And I thought that was just the most insane thing, that people watch other people run now. But it was just enough to give you that, that competitive feeling, even at rec league, even if it's just the wives and the family watching you play basketball. It was just enough where someone else is watching me. It's cool. And after that, I was hooked. So it started with half marathons, and that was the origin.
I think that's awesome. I remember so I ran cross country as in high school and stuff. And then for the most part, maybe ran when I was in my very early stages of college, just signed up for a running class because I thought, hey, I ran in high school. Why not do this running class? Yeah. But then I quit for a really long time until I was like 37. And I was going through a second divorce, and I was a bit overweight, quite a bit overweight. Well, I was getting there, and I thought, man, I've got to do something. Not just because I was overweight, but just because I was really out of shape. And I was like, I was really good at running at one point. Maybe I'll try that back. And what I did was I started running just a mile. I said, okay, for the next 5 days, I'm going to run a mile, but I'm going to allow myself to not run it hard, just run it.
Yeah.
Like I'd walk it. And I did that. And on Fridays though, I want to make sure I run the whole thing,
Yeah.
I didn't care about speed. And that's how I got into it. I allowed myself to really get back into it. And then probably 3 or 4 weeks into it, my brother comes home from, I guess he was in Iraq or wherever, and he was taking some time off, or he was, hey man, look, I run a 10K. I was like, 10K? I was like, no way, I haven't even ran a 5K.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And I kicked his ass. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow.
I'm good
So
at this.
I was hooked there and lost all my weight. And from there I was hooked, and somewhat similar story. And I just kept going. I feel like sometimes, oh, by the way, one thing that I did, and I think you can relate to this, I don't know if you did this, but a lot of people do it, is social media started becoming popular back then. This is
Yeah.
literally 10 years ago. And I would post my runs. I'd do everything I can. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm so excited to push my Nike Run app
Yep.
runs or whatever it was back then. Now you're like, that's an exciting time. Like you were
Yeah.
excited that you were doing these things and you thought others would be excited for you. And that's actually what gets me excited is to see people start consistently do it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think it's funny you said Nike, the Nike Run app, because I think that was the first thing I used to log. I had some Nike Frees,
yeah,
which I think were still really good shoes. Um, and they had the little pod in the heel, and I don't know I don't know what that pod was. And you had the little, and it attached to your Nike Plus wrist strap. And that
yep,
was before I had a GPS watch. So I was close enough. It's funny, I look at, and talking about posting on social media, I look at some of my Facebook memories and some old rounds that pop up. I was like, man, was I that fast or is that Nike app really wrong?
you know,
But either way, it's funny that it pops up and I was one of those that posted probably every run and onto my Facebook and until people got tired of it. But yeah, to your point that social media was pretty early. Started finding a lot of mutual run friends and I found them on Twitter. A lot of us are still friends. Either it was probably because we were pushing it to either Facebook or Twitter and I don't know, maybe the engagement was better in Twitter
yeah,
as far as the running and Daily Mile was before Strava, if you remember Daily Mile.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we're on that some similar journey and just really being proud of those, 2-3 mile runs running all the way.
Exactly. No, I agree, man. And I think that for me, I remember just progressively getting better. But one thing that I remember that I did a lot of and shouldn't have was when I started getting to my long runs, I'd run them as hard as I could every
Yeah.
time. And I thought that's the way to do it. And I was like, I'm going to beat yesterday's time yesterday.
Your run is faster.
I
Yeah,
promise.
I don't think at the time, at least now, no one told you about gray zone. Yeah, staying out of the gray zone. So it was just like, oh, this is what I ran last time. I guess I need to run faster, and it
Yeah.
works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll hit that plateau. But I think yeah, it's still pretty common with newer runners, and just telling them it's okay to slow down. It's okay
Yeah.
to some runs need to be fast, some need to be slow, and when you're starting out, they can actually all be slow. So, yeah.
Yeah. I look at some of the better runners today, like Jose Lopez and those kind of folks, that group. I don't know if you know him, but most people do. He'll do like his 20 milers at 9.5 minute paces or 10 minutes. But then you look at how he runs like a 117 or 120 half marathon or
Yeah.
really fast marathons. And so that's what they do. They do a
Yeah.
lot of races, right? So that's probably where they get their speed workouts.
Yeah.
But it's just, it puts it in perspective. I'm not saying you shouldn't run fast on different days or, do speed work, et cetera. I think you should, but it just goes to show that it doesn't always matter that you always go fast. Definitely slowing down is always good.
Yeah.
And talking about all of that, you have a lot of things going on, you have an online community called Team Dirt and Vert. I know you guys meet on a consistent basis in different areas. You're a coach. You have a great, what is it? Not Twitter, but Instagram profile. Have 2,500 followers. Tell me a little bit let's talk about Team Dirt and Vert first.
Think I it's hard to talk about Team Dirt and Vert before you talk about Team Ninja, the coaching part, because I
Let's
think
talk
one
about
came
Team Ninja.
yeah, one came first, and we'll just start from the genesis. I think about maybe 6 years into running, I started mostly focusing on trail just because I enjoyed it. I already quickly burnt myself out of road marathons and
Probably did a bunch of them.
tried to run them all as fast as I could.
Worst.
But we can talk about that later.
We will.
Started getting into trail ultras and such just started doing more people.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You just said I got burned out of the marathon. So now I'm going to go do ultra marathons, which is 32 miles plus.
Yeah,
Right.
I think, but it's not the mileage. I think it's more for me mentally. Like when I was running road, every mile I had to, okay, this is the pace. Even if it's just, I need to run this pace for this distance to So it was more for me, it was burning myself out of training and worrying about my splits that we literally just talked about. I think it can be hard, especially for newer runners and especially for inexperienced runners that maybe like Jose, he has skins on the wall. He knows how fast he can run. He doesn't have to prove it in training, even though no one looks at your Strava. No one cares that you don't have to put 10-minute mile. This is my easy pace to make sure everyone knows that you're running easy purposely and not just that's your pace. So I think it's still it's very common. And it's the same thing. And maybe and even a BMW, big road races stress me out. I have to, and we're only 45 minutes. We live in Allen, and I feel
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to get caught in traffic. I'm not going to get in my corral. And just all those little things. But you roll up to a trail race, or you come up like
6 hours
20 minutes.
away.
Yeah, you can roll up like 30 minutes before, get
Yeah.
your bib. Maybe you do a little warm up, but most of the time you pin your bib on, you go. So
Yeah.
I think it was just a little bit more laid back, and it was better for me personally, or at least where I was now. I'll still get the urge, especially when I see like you run off and you guys go off and do or Leah goes off and does a fast marathon. I was like, man, I wonder if I can still have any speed left in me and want to do that. But mostly then I remember how hard marathon training really is.
It sucks, dude.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's
Wait,
not
wait,
for
wait.
me.
So we're going to back up because
Yeah.
something you just said, how hard a marathon is.
Mhm.
So this is coming from a guy that just finished Western States 100 and then some other 100 miler, like right after, like
Yeah.
somewhat recently. And for 35 hours it took you. And I'm like, okay, it took you what, 27 hours to do Western States and then
Yep.
35 for
Mhm.
this other
What's
one
that?
recent. Yeah. So I don't understand.
Yeah, but I think it's a
Or
different kind of hard. I think it's 35 hours physically hard also, but it's all spread out over 35 hours.
yeah,
So it's just, I think obviously the marathon, whether it's a 3 hour or a 5 hour marathon, it's hard, but I think the training is harder.
Yeah.
You're really, because you're really running like the razor's edge. If you're trying to hit a specific time, you know what tempo paces you have to, either you're adding race pace within your long runs. So there's so much, there's people have been running marathons for quite a while. So there's a lot of science and there's a lot of good coaching methodology. And most people aren't reinventing the wheel. So there's templates on how to, if you need to run 3:30, you need to
It's
be able to
cycle.
run this pace for
Yeah.
at least a half and things like that. And the margins are smaller there. You can't make as many mistakes during a 2 hour, 3 hour race, but during a 27-hour ultra marathon, you have time. If you mess up on your fueling for a little bit, and even if it takes an hour and a half or 2 hours to fully bounce back, you do still have time. But if you skip a gel at mile 3 or 4, you've set yourself back by
Yeah.
mile 8 or 9, and then you miss that window to BQ because you just don't you
Yeah.
don't have that margin for error. So I think for me personally, those kind of stressors are harder for me. I think that's why the
Yeah.
training is harder, and I think and all races are like that on race days. Whether the race gods will let you have a good weather day,
Yeah.
but I think it's just more difficult for me, and especially when people are trained for marathons or I coach for marathons. I know what the training entails, and I think you can be a little bit more creative with ultra marathoning because I think, like I said, the marathoning is a science. Ultra marathons are more like art.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
like those hundreds and 200s can, more like black magic. There's no there's no,
Roots.
there's no real good formula. It's going to be different for everyone
Yeah.
because the training is different and the races are different because they're so much longer and there's a lot of problem solving involved. And it's not just the physical act of I need to hold this pace. There's other things that even if you're not as fast, if you're a better problem solver or if you experience that kind of experience can help overcome like physical abilities. So I think
Yeah.
I think there's so much more going on, especially as I'm getting older in life. Um, so I think those are just some of the few differences and
Yeah.
why I think at least now I prefer ultras, but the training for marathon, it's just,
I do.
it can wear on you. 16, 20-week cycle is a
Yep.
long time, but that's what it takes if you have a specific goal and a specific time you want to hit. And you can miss a few, you can miss a long run pace, but you can't miss too many. So
Speaking of training and marathons and ultras and things like that, and back to Team Ninja, you started an organization. So tell
yeah,
me about that.
yeah, I started coaching I think in 2015 now. So it's almost 9 years. It was really by chance. I've been a friend of a friend wanting to get into trail ultras, and she reached out, "Hey, I want to do this racing time, and I know you've done it. Would you coach me for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can. I'm not really a coach, and I don't have any experience and I don't have any certifications. If you want to try, we can do it. I'm not can't charge you anything because I'd feel negligent in doing that." So we did that, and I coached her for her first ultra, the 50 miler, and then at the end, every now and then after a big race, she'd either send me like a Starbucks gift card or drop off like a case of beer, and I was like, "Oh, this coaching stuff's kind of cool."
I
You know,
think
at the end
no
of
tons of beer.
at the end of the year, she left that big.
That's the one thing
I
about
guess,
trail runners is we're runners and
yeah,
period. We all like beer
yeah,
for the most part. So anyways, go
yeah.
ahead.
And she left a kind of big Christmas bonus to a gift card. It's like, that's probably more than I would even charge you. So let's just settle on something going forward. And after we did that and officially started charging, a few other people reached out and it just grew from there. It was a really word of mouth. And, now I try to, I guess, identify at least to some extent at least on my Instagram as a coach.
Yeah.
But before I was just like, okay, if you, well, I guess if you trust me, I guess that person will trust me too. And it grew from there, and it got to the point where, yeah, it's where we are now, and I take it a lot more seriously. I coach people from 5Ks to 200 plus milers. Most of the people I coach are trail runners, but still have several straight road athletes going marathons and 5Ks. So it's a good range.
So you actually coach all the way, just like if somebody wants to do a 5K, people are wanting to be coached just to do a 5K, or I say
Yes,
just.
I think those that are willing to accept a little guidance, and I think a lot of that comes from masters runners where they've either had some kind of injury in the past and they've either tried coach or self-coaching themselves and run into the typical overuse injuries, whether it's
Yeah.
PF, Achilles, runner's knee, and they want someone else to have some guidance. And I think at this point, I think it's more common where people are okay with, this is my coach. I just want someone to tell me what I need to do and not have to try to figure it out myself. My training methodology is not it's not rocket science. It's not mind blowing. A lot of it is just consistency and helping them find ways to be creative because again, almost everyone has a job, has families, and
Yeah.
have other responsibilities. We can't just go knock out our 20-mile run and then go take a nap in the
Yeah.
normal techniques. I have to go. So a lot of that is trying to help them balance their lives and their training, and also help them find out when to prioritize what and when it's okay, let's, skip this tempo run because you've been up for whatever, 4 hours. So I think a lot of it is just trying to help them know it's okay to skip stuff and know when it's okay to say no to big races and try to be the kind of good angel on their shoulder.
Yeah.
So you have some where you're just trying to get them to be consistent. And then you have others that are been in the sport for a while and you're just trying to, hey, you be smart and not go do this 100-mile race just because it's
Yeah.
close by and all your friends are doing it.
Go in and volunteer or something,
Yeah. 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 You can still be a part of the race. Yeah.
Um, so talking about philosophy from a coaching standpoint, you know, how do you help runners? Do you give a plan together? Do you talk about nutrition and do you tell them to go somewhere else? Or tell me a little bit about if I were to become, you know, a client of yours.
Yeah.
Is
So,
it-
I will program every day at least what I think you should do, and not to
Yeah.
say that everyone should run or work out every day, but if you have the capacity, I will program out your whole week of running, cross training, especially like we said, a lot of my athletes are masters runners. So I think strength training and mobility is it's important for everyone, but it's more important when you're in your 40s and you
Yeah.
just can't roll out of bed and go knock out a track track workout. So I will preach cross training extensively, and then I will try not to overstep my bounds as far as nutrition.
Yeah.
And again, even the strength training and the mobility, there's a lot of exercises already out there. A lot of it is just trying to at least get in front of the people so they know that, okay,
Yeah,
this will
those just
help.
need to be organized a
Yeah,
little bit,
right.
right? Tuesday and Thursdays, you do these particular weights and whatever.
Yeah, but you've been around the community long enough, people that you trust. So,
Yeah.
so I can give you a broad outline of what's worked for me as far as nutrition, but if you want someone else, I know this person that's worked with several of our athletes on the team.
Yeah.
Go talk to her. I have PTs and Logan and people like that you've known and you've gone to that you trust. You can only foam row so much.
Yeah.
And as even every morning I'm doing some kind of mobility or working on my plantar fasciitis or Achilles to make sure it doesn't come back. If you're heavy in training, sometimes you're going to need the help of a professional.
Yeah.
Or someone with really, really sharp elbows and hard thumbs to dig in there.
Well,
So
well,
I think a lot of it, I think, is knowing when to leverage smarter
Yeah.
people or more skilled professionals around you. But
you're not in
you
the
like
business of giving massages or
right,
anything like
and I do have to be careful about trying to. I can give experience and I can give advice, but you have to be careful about not overstepping your bounds.
So when you look at your Team Dirt and Vert, is that just a branch off of?
Yeah, it was kind of branch off because started running with I'd run with some of my athletes, at least they're local, and people would come, hey, we're running at Irwin Park on Saturday, and someone would ask, hey, are you coaching all these people? No, some of them are coaching, some are
Yeah.
friends, and some are just showing up. And we just started. It started with just a regular group run, like you have your Thursday,
Yeah.
your Thursday Norbuck run, and
I don't really run on
yeah.
my buck. I just have
you sit out there and
and
eat after
hang out.
and in the lawn chairs.
Yeah,
It was like that. We would start a small group of friends with like, hey, we're going to go out to cross timbers, and people say, hey, can we go next? I said, oh, I guess. And we just started, we want to go get bird and we like to be on dirt, and it started as a hashtag. Well, and then we just started as a page and then started to slightly become more organized to where it is now. And we host group runs on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, although Friday I'm not there, but someone else is doing that one. And then on Sunday. So it's either 3 or 4 regular group runs. And then occasionally we'll do some Saturday runs somewhere else. But I think the main purpose is we're trying to, I think similar to you, get people running or get people comfortable, try to bridge that gap between road running and trail running. Cause I know some people, it's still intimidating, even though they look, a lot of trails on Tuesday, Old Points it's in Plano in a city park. We're not out in the woods. We're not really out in the woods. If you're lost, you'll come back out onto the pavement and
go straight on the right.
quarter mile.
You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
You're not
Yeah.
really lost. You're in cell phone reception. We're trying to make things not intimidating.
Yeah.
And I think I think especially road runners, you feel like, I don't want to come out there's snakes. I might roll my ankle, but I tell people all the time, my worst ankle sprains have been on pavement walking. Yeah. So it's just, I think that's how it started. Simple group runs, and we just try to build it up and encourage people to run more trails and make it less intimidating. Getting people out there and just make people aware of the trails that they have around us, and at least having someone that is experienced to help guide them, into that journey.
I think that Javier and I talked about this on a last podcast. Was one of the things that people talk about, and I'll say this a lot in my podcast probably, is they're not motivated to run. They're not to train or whatever, right? In the beginning, it's a very hard thing to build that consistency. I get that. We got to build some motivation and things like that. But at the end of the day, consistency is the key. And so you got to find ways to either, and Javier mentioned this, well, I said this, is you just got to go out there, and motivation is not a single, it shouldn't be your factor of either you go run or not. You just have to go do the work.
Yeah.
Right. Something that he mentioned was just what you were just talking about, is building that community of runners. Find a running group that's near you, whether it's trail or road or whatever. That's what all of us do. Look, you build a whole community around this. So did I. I go run with people. That's what I do. And it makes that pain a lot easier to deal with. And then also when you have somebody to rely on to go to some kind of run, it's always better because they're relying on you. And I think, a really good way. And I love what you're doing.
It seems a lot easier now. Apparently, there's a run club
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think to your point, you find out accountability partners, you find people with similar interests. And it's awesome that you go out to these run clubs and then you find someone, oh, you my pace. Do you want to run on Saturday? And I've seen lots of people that have come out to our runs solo, and now they found
The people.
a smaller community within this community. And now that they're run besties, you're never gonna find those just running by yourselves. I get if you're trying to run a 2:15 marathon,
Yeah.
you're gonna be very limited on some of your training partners, right? So
Yeah, but those people are a little different,
right.
right?
Yeah,
They're pretty focused.
you can still do your solo track and tempo runs, but if you want to do your Wednesday brew run with that group, or
Yeah.
even with some of my marathoners, I tried to get them to come out on Sunday and just do a 1 hour recovery run on trails because they're gonna have a recovery run anyway. So I still think you can do both.
I'm a big
Well,
fan of doing
yeah,
both. I've
yeah,
been doing both for years. Like some years I might do less than the other, but
yeah,
like trails are nice. Sometimes they're harder.
yeah,
Leah and I were up in the mountains to the Swiss Alps and the
yeah.
French Alps about a month
I
ago.
love that.
And of course I wore that hat, by the way. So
Yeah,
thank you for posting that. But yeah, I think look, that's what life's all about is to go. And if you can go do a running journey, I love running journeys. Leah and I always do that kind of stuff. And we base our life off I say our life, our trips
yeah.
on that in general. Right.
And that's basically, and I'm glad that Fiona and you as well have a partner that is supportive of that.
Yeah.
Whether or not she might be as equally driving it as you are, but like all of our trips, Western States was in Tahoe. We went a week
Yeah.
early and took our girls and spent a week in Tahoe, and then we spent a few days after the race and in Napa and Bay Area. So
So
that was our vacation. Too bad Wasatch was in September and kids started school. So it was just a vacation for me and a short vacation for me and Fiona. But a lot of the races, especially the ones that end up in Utah or Colorado that the kids want to go. And that's how we see the world. And I do.
that's
I told
exactly
them
how I see it. Yeah.
I wanted to do Tour de France sometime in the future, and that'll be in the Italian Alps.
Yeah.
The
I've heard of it.
girls are gonna want to go to that, so that's
Of
gonna be
course.
something to say about. You can't just go out for
You better get some
three
more of
weeks.
those coaching gigs.
Yeah, I need because I need a little bit more income. But yeah, I think that's for me personally. I think that's probably one of the main things that pulled me to trail running is just because not just enjoyment of the trails, but the races that we've been
Yeah.
able to go to. So I think that was my biggest driver.
What's your biggest memory or accomplishment from a running standpoint? What's something you're super proud of?
I
I mean, I could probably name them. Look at your thing and like, how about this
yeah,
one? This one, this one.
I
A
think
lot of them.
this year, for those that aren't aware, Western States is hard to get into, and
Kind of.
I had 7 years of tickets. So it's
Yeah.
basically since I've been trail running hundreds, I've been trying to get tickets, and we finally got in. And it's a big deal. There's a
Step
lot
back
of
though. Wait,
media.
wait. 7 years of running 100 milers. You've done at least seven. So how long have you been running 100 milers?
Okay, so my first 100 miler was 2014 Rocky Raccoon,
Yeah.
and I took 2 years off after that one before I did another one.
Still, I
Um,
forget that.
yeah, so it's just
The first one's always the hardest, I
it
think.
was still very new to me, and I had no idea what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I ran with someone that was a lot more experienced. She had done 5 or 6, but she was very high mileage, and she also ran. She was younger, so I would just do all the runs that she wanted to do. We did 40-mile training runs.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of mileage for me, and I had a great race. It rained for about 40 miles of the 100. It was super muddy. I snuck under 24 hours, which is always a good goal for those 100 milers.
That's a
But afterwards, I was just okay, I'm done for a little bit. So I focused more I took a little break, not exactly not running. I did a little bit more cycling, And I started doing more, not necessarily longer races, but harder 50Ks, harder
Uh-huh.
25Ks, doing more hillier trails, technical trails. And then a friend asked if she wanted to do Leadville in 2016.
Ooh,
And she wanted to see if I wanted to get in the lottery with her. Yeah, let's try. I
exciting.
think I'm ready for it now because I'd been to Pikes Peak a couple years.
Mhm.
So I felt that draw. The mountains are it's cool. It's a little scary. It's a lot scary.
The
And
tough one, really tough one.
and then we got in, and after that, since Leadville 2016, I've been trying to get a Western States and a Hard Rock qualifier every year.
Okay.
And yeah, like Western States is the Boston for 100 milers, super difficult to get in, and it's huge. But
It's
when you
really,
get
really
there,
harder than a
yeah,
Boston to get in.
yeah, it is. Yeah, the qualification is easier, I think,
Yeah.
in Boston, but they just don't. The field is so much smaller. And I finally got in this year, and I think the experience was everything that I wanted to be. I'm not as young as I was 7, 8 years ago, so my
Yeah.
speed wasn't where I wanted it to be, but I think I gotta remember, you always have
I
to
mean,
find
you're not
somewhere
that
you're
old.
at. And I'm 49, it feels
Yeah, we're
49
the
feels
same
old.
age. So,
Mhm. So, but I think, yeah, it was great. I brought, had a lot of friends go with us, and he said, "Hey, I just wanna go." I said, "Well, we have room in the house. If you wanna go, you're welcome." So I had a lot of friends there. We obviously had my kids, and they ran on the track with me, so it was
nice.
great. So it was actually my fastest 100 miler since Rocky because everything in
Uh-huh.
between were all mountain hundreds. I told you, I was like, I don't think I've run this much in a 100 miler than since Rocky because I'm used to,
Yeah, Rocky's
I
kind of
think
flat.
I purposely pick races or mountains so you get long high breaks. Yeah, what I like to say. So, there's a lot of sustained
They're
running.
walking up the mountain and you're like, okay, you
Yeah.
need to rest
Yeah.
5 minutes and then
So,
go up again. Yeah.
yeah. So it's different. It's a
Quite
difficult
fast though,
kind of,
man. I tried to race you one day and you kicked my ass. So
I don't remember.
that wasn't all that long ago. A few
Yeah.
months or a few years ago. I forgot we were racing. I just quit. It's only like a 18K or something,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Actually, I do. And I try to tell all my athletes after a big race, it's okay to do shorter stuff for a
yeah.
while. And like right now, I'm not running as much. Doing a little
Just
bit more.
uh, fair enough. I'm not
Feels like
running
a
as
month
much. A
ago.
couple months ago, I ran 100
Yes.
miles and plus another
Yeah.
one. Okay.
I
Months.
think yeah. When I say no, not much for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Just taking it easy. Do you have something like now, like in the next 6 months or something, or not really?
Now the only race that I have coming up is Athens Big Four. It's always the first Athens Big Four marathon. It's the first week of January. It is probably one of the toughest 100 miler, not 100 miler, marathons in the U.S. It's in Arkansas, Oklahoma border. You run up and down 8 Arkansas mountains. So I think to qualify as a mountain, it's like 1,200 feet. So they're not, it's not steep. It's not a high mountain, but it's technically a mountain. You just run up and run down. You end up getting about 7,000 feet of gain.
That's
In
quite
that
a bit.
marathon. So that's something I've done the last 4 or 5 years. So it's just a
Okay.
good way to start but we have slowly been dragging as many Texas runners as we can and we make it a big fun thing. I don't have any longer races planned after that.
I'm sure you'll put the calendar up here pretty
Yeah.
soon and
The
we'll get
races
to
that
look at
I'm,
your
yeah.
website and he has this calendar of all the races that you could run, not to say you're going to run them, but that you could run in every single month. So
And we used to, I don't know if you remember Endurance Buzz Adventures. No. So, Dave Hannenberg used to do that. Used to do a series of races and all the Possum Kingdom, the race at Tyler, Audubon. He started all
yeah.
those. So there wasn't as much trail racing available to us in DFW as there is now. You had to go a little bit further to Austin races, San
Yeah.
Antonio, and Houston, and they found all those up here, started building them, and now Blaze is taking some of them over. But
Yeah, they're doing a good job.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So shoot, I lost what was I talking about?
We're talking about races. And
Yeah.
one question I was going to ask you is within that DFW area or ish, you can just say ish, what are some of your favorite races?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. So getting back to your calendar, he used to have a calendar of all the races in the
Yeah.
Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma region. So I tried to do that, and it's new races are
Ah,
popping up. So it's not all encompassing. But at least I've done a lot of racing, so I want to try to help and try to build and, have people go beyond. There's a lot of awesome races and really grassroots stuff in Oklahoma and Arkansas. And for people that want to get out to some of those trails, some of those trails are a lot tougher. They're not as groomed as some of the trails that we had here. So it's a big step up, and it's good. You go a 3-4 hour drive and get in, and it feels like a whole new world, and will challenge you in different ways. So that's why I started that calendar, to give people an idea of some other races that are around them, and especially ones that I've known and have a affinity for.
Yeah. And that's at gregsisengrath.com.
Yeah, I
Right.
probably need to work on a better domain name for that calendar, but I get too lazy.
Yeah. You lose some of that authority if you do that, unless you kind of Google authority.
Yeah.
Was there one or two specific races here in Dallas, Fort Worth
Oh,
area that you would
yeah.
recommend, or
So,
that's your favorite?
like race cross timbers. It's on the trails of Lake Texoma. It was my first
It's a fun
trail
long time ago.
marathon. It's one of the hardest ones. Yeah. And I'd run probably a couple marathons before I started that one. And I thought, well, it's probably maybe I run like 10, 20 minutes slower than the road marathon. And you get out there. And this was before,
You like the hard stuff.
yeah, this was before Facebook and
Mhm.
social media. So we had no idea what it looked like, whatever, a decade ago.
Yeah.
And you get out there and you end up running 2 hours slower than your road marathon. And you really,
Yeah.
and trail run really kicks you in the face, but then you finish and there's a bunch of old dudes with
Uh-huh.
craft beer,
Yeah.
not just the Mick Ultra. And I was like,
No.
man, this trail running's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, you want a beer? So I didn't bring any beer. I didn't know that we could bring beer. So that's how I fell on trail running. And I think that's still one of my favorite courses, that we go up there to train a lot just to get the vert out of wall. There's a good race in December because it's one of the first cold races. I think Rockledge Rumble, one that
I love
think-
Rockledge Rumble.
Yeah.
One of my
I think
favorite.
I only raced it like a couple times, but I volunteered a couple times. And I think it is a great intro because it's been going on for so long, and we both know place puts on a good race. And I think the history of it, and it's great supporting veterans, and it's just a good course. And it's one of the rare times that at least the runners get to be on that trail, mostly without bikes. It's a rare opportunity.
Is your Team Dirt and Vert, is that open to anyone that wants to come in, or? Okay.
I occasionally will get messages, are these runs free? Yeah, but there's no charge. We don't
Well,
really
the reason I
charge.
ask is because there's a lot of runners that are in that area and that might want to try racing or running, and check out the Team Dirt and Vert Facebook site.
Yeah, I try to post the runs first thing Monday of each week.
Yeah.
A lot, the runs don't change. So if you've been, that's why we just try to keep them in the same place so people know where to be. So I'll post reminders at the beginning of each week to let them know where we're going to be. And occasionally if we have a pop-up run somewhere, we're going to go train somewhere else on Saturday and get some longer stuff in, I'll add those as well. But yeah, all the runs are free.
And it's
Typically-
generally like McKinney, Allen, Plano, Little Elm.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in Allen. Tuesday run is in Plano. Thursday run, we're doing hill repeats in Plano because the gravel hill that we used to do in Irwin has been paved over. It's no fun.
man.
It's not very safe to run out there. And then Sundays are always at Irwin Park, Struggle Bus Sunday. And then Friday, we have a group of ladies that host a run out at Rowlett Creek. So we try to spread it out.
A lot of snakes at Rowlett Creek. Been there so
Yeah,
many
a
times.
lot. It's Copperhead City out there.
So yeah,
So
and
next you go,
and
it's
Sewage
the one
City
you
too.
go- It's not one of my favorites, but it is
It's a
flat.
trail.
It is, yeah, it is trail, and
I
it is
like the
flat,
trail.
so
Like
it's
I
good.
don't hate the trail. There's a sewage plant. There's a bunch of snakes
But if you want to go fast, it's a good place to work on your leg turnover. So
and jump.
yeah, we have a lot of group run. We have several group run options, and so occasionally we'll do some group runs like out at Trailhead.
Yeah.
And like on holidays, but all the runs are free. And typically on Sundays, we get our biggest group in. So there's typically always a pace for everyone. And with most trails around here, some people are doing 3-hour long runs. Some people are doing 45, 1 hour run, so it's easy to shorten the loops. So you're not committed to, oh, I'm going to do this 15-mile long run
Yeah.
with everyone. No, it's easy to cut short. And
Cool, man. I think that, by the way, do you guys ever have beer afterwards or go eat somewhere?
yes, yeah, we
Because I think that's important.
you know what, we haven't done the Thursday runs. We purposely start at the Shacks,
Yeah.
which has a bar and
Okay.
a little food down at the bottom. Saturday, Sundays, yeah, we typically would have a fuzzies. Not typically, but it's been a while. We used to have some fuzzies, and then people bring drinks after. Now that I think could depend, it always depends on the weather. I need to be
Yeah.
better about mandatory sitting in chairs and drinking beers like book run.
Yeah, exactly. You know what we're gonna do is, so now it's almost to the time where it gets too dark to hang out.
Yeah,
So we'll just go to this local bar instead and meet and just have some beers and eat. So
yeah,
we don't do any running at all, for sure. From November all the way till February, and then February we get back out and potentially
yeah,
we'll run. At the very least, we'll sit outside, or yeah, we'll sit outside and drink beers.
yeah. This is getting to the tougher parts when we start running out of light.
Yeah, Greg, man, this has been really good. Is there any questions that I just didn't ask that I should have asked?
No, I don't think I just want to say I appreciate that. I appreciate everything that you've been doing, especially the DFW running group that you've been building.
Yeah,
It's grown. It's grown a lot.
crazy, huh?
I see a lot of awesome posts. I try not to comment on a lot of them. Just I feel like
Comment on as
everyone's
much as you want, man. I
yeah,
don't care.
but I like what you're doing because I think we're doing the same things. We're
Yeah,
trying to grow. We're trying to grow. I think a lot of people don't realize we have a really good running community here. It
it's
is.
really good.
I mean, we are spread out, but
Yeah,
we do. I think we're doing the best we can, and I like seeing people that have been in the running community for a while, and I've seen you around for a while. So I like the way you're building and some of the resources that you're giving. It's not just, hey, this is the group and you come in. There's a lot of
you
groups.
don't really meet. I don't do a meet thing on
Yeah,
my community. Like I'll farm that out to
yeah.
folks like yourself or White Rock Running Co-op or Dallas Running Club or wherever. Like, hey, if
That's
you
it.
want to
I
meet,
think people that are experienced like yourselves and know a lot of people in the community, and you can push people, or not push is probably not the right word, but direct people
yeah, yeah,
to other resources. And I think it's great that you use your experience in the community to kind of
appreciate that.
help this place grow.
And I
Yeah.
think that it's even people like you, like you're doing a lot of cool stuff. So I think that's pretty awesome what you guys are doing and just your love for running and helping people. You're truly helping people. Get
Well, yeah.
hit their goals.
I've
So
been, I've been lucky that the running has opened up and a pretty good life.
oh,
Most of my friends now, I'm sure it's like yourself. I still have my old non-running friends, but most of the people that I'm hanging out with now are in this endurance community, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to do some fun things. So I try to give back or honestly give back as much as I can. So I think that I feel generous. I feel grateful that I can do that.
yeah. Before we go, like, how can people reach out to you? What's the best ways if they ever
Um,
want?
yeah, the easiest thing is on Instagram, Ultra Ninja Runner with no E. Or you can reach me, Greg Sisengrath, on Facebook. There's probably only one Sisengrath, or there's only one Greg Sisengrath. So it's pretty easy, but the Instagram is probably the easiest because I try to keep that running, and my Facebook is it's try to balance the running and the family. I have all teenage girls, and they don't want me posting about them anyway. So they're at that age.
It's you've got the Facebook group is
Yeah, yeah. Team
Dirt
Dirt and
and
Vert. Yeah, Team
which
Dirt
I
and
think
Vert.
is
We try to be everywhere on Facebook and Instagram, and it's just, and whether it's just posting pictures of people running or trying to engage or get people out volunteering. So I
yeah.
just try to help build the community as best I can, not just Team Dirt and Vert, but some of the race directors locally.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, and I don't really see you in Dallas Dirt Runners. Did you start doing that? Were you in that group at all much?
No,
You or
I
no, you're
I
just
am
always on
back
your
in the
own.
day. I'm there lurking.
Well, I know you're lurking. We all are. but it's changed. I know some of those groups, they went their own ways and started
Yeah.
their own stuff and do some DDR stuff, but were you ever heavy in that group or no? Not really.
No, no,
Okay.
just always a bystander. I do remember some of the older groups, so it has changed a little. So I think
Back in
I've
the
been
day when
more.
Augustine was there,
Yeah. I
when
think
you
I've been
ran.
I think I've been the bridge between the older groups of
Yeah.
trail runners and the newer runners. So
It
I've
is
seen them
funny how
both.
to watch it change over time. Just
Yeah,
not to keep this going too much longer, but when I started running Dallas Running Club, and I'm a big fan of Dallas Running Club.
yeah,
They're a great running club in the Dallas area. You pay a little bit, but it's very organized and there are pace groups and everything else, and they have races. Anyways, when I used to run with their groups, you'd have a pace leader, right? Of
Yep.
each group. So let's say if you're running a marathon, they had a 320, 330, 340, 350, 4 hours, 420, 10, whatever. I went all the way up to that. And so I'd run with the 330 for a while and 320. And it was all the same people for a long time, right?
yeah,
For 2 or 3 years. And then it just turns over when the new people start coming in, the old people out. I did that for, I was like, man, where's so and so? It was, but that's the way it goes. You start having kids or
yeah.
they move or just things come up in life, right? So it's just interesting to watch. And I think there's just lots of turnover in the community, period.
That I think that's true. I think, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think depending on how people find running and their goals, sometimes it's just I want to run a marathon or
Yeah.
I want to BQ, and after I BQ, that's it. Or like I want to run 100 miles and then I'm retiring. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes that actually happens. But then sometimes it's like you and myself, where been around for a while,
Yeah.
and you are like the bridge between a lot of different groups. So you've seen everyone come and go, and I think that's why it's even like more impressive that you're still doing what you're doing now, because DFW running is still fairly new, but you're growing.
10 plus years, by the
Yeah.
way.
Is it?
I know.
Facebook
It's funny, huh?
What?
Well,
Oh man.
the story goes
Yeah.
is that I used to live in Frisco or Little Elm, and I used that group to just bring local people in.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that'd be really good. And because I wanted to run with people that were in my neighborhood. And so that kind of worked for a little while.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Dallas. I did nothing with this DFW running group, nothing. It was called something else. But then I was like, oh, wait, why not try it and see if I can just get a
Yeah.
bunch of people from Dallas, in this Dallas Fort Worth or whatever. And then I did that. And then I've even expanded it more to allow people from all over the DFW Metroplex come in. And it's hoarding in. By the way, I do this for a living. I build online communities. And so I have an idea of how to,
You're a lot better at this than I am.
I mean, you got to put a little effort into it. And
Yeah.
sometimes now I just let it go. And every now and then I'll get back into it, focusing on the engagement piece, but not that all that matters to get off of the subject of running. It's really cool because I get to see runners from all over DFW come in. You get to see some of their journey and things like that. There's some things that are annoying. People take off the shirts and just, do different weird things. And I'm like, okay, I got to go back and remember I was pumped up too when I first started, whatever it takes to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. You know, so
There may be a few people that I've already blocked in the group just because I don't want to see that
it's
that stuff anymore, but it's okay. But yeah, to your point, we have to remember where we all came from, and it's okay that people are getting excited about this.
exactly. It's okay that people are getting excited about this, about running when
Yeah.
whatever, do it, do whatever your heart's desire. I will block certain things from that group with is you just, I'll even say, hey, look, you've done this a lot. Nobody likes it. Nobody says
Okay.
anything. Your
Yeah.
daily runs isn't necessary to post on here, and a daily video isn't necessary. It just isn't.
You can't help it. You've grown such a big group. They have a captive audience.
Yeah. But nobody cares. They will just go
Yeah.
past it. I guess
I know.
I think to me, it's about, okay, you've accomplished something. You did this race. Awesome. Post it. You get this time. Great. Post it. But don't post your times every single day in a post of a video of you running and sweating and thinking you're motivating people. Cause I'm being very harsh, but I don't think it's motivating people. But if it's motivating yourself, post it on your own wall and let people there. That's what your wall's for. So I do manage that. I wouldn't say always. I'm just allow it to go
Yeah.
for a bit. And then I'm like, okay, this 10 times, delete, don't do this again.
Yeah.
So we could talk about community stuff all day.
Maybe a different podcast or
Yeah,
or
different
something.
Greg, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on to DFW Running Talk to share your journey and how you're helping the community within the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's been really awesome. So thanks so much.
Now, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on. It's been great.
Of course. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. Please rate and review us. So I'm going to make sure Greg rates and review us when I send him the link to the podcast, but please go do that. It'll only take you like less than 2 minutes. We need all the ratings and reviews, and we'll take no less than a 5-star rating. So thanks for everyone for coming. Take care.
Thank you.